Yes, this is Anton making a summary or analysis of How Lucky You Are. Short story written by Debi Alpert, an author known for thrillers, usually taking place in suburbs south of London, but still a modern setting time-wise. We hear that we're told that the story is taking place in England, and taking the fact that Debi Alpert grew up in London, I have located the story to take place in London, or maybe suburbs of southern London to be more precise. The story is told from an omniscient narrator and begins with a flashback on the false protagonist, Max. His childhood. We're told that Max's father left and Max and his mom at a young age, and that is the reason Max doesn't appreciate his possessions or resources that he is given. Max doesn't care about school. It doesn't matter if it's his homework or examinations. He's just fooling around, being some kind of punk. This is until he meets a very special girl called Israki. She is the turning point in Max's life and the real beginning of the story. I have written Israki as the main protagonist because she's the one putting some action into the actual story, and making the change in Max's life. Israki is an immigrant from Iran. Both her parents has been arrested because of some anti-government demonstration, and Israki came to prison as an unaccompanied minor. Israki is just in England for this time to get her certificate of secondary education. But even before her education, something happens. Israki's supporter or friend Alexa, who has a job in a refugee center, is trying to help Israki in Britain, but it seems difficult because Israki is from Iran and she doesn't have parents to take care of anything, so it's pretty hard for Israki to build herself as a person in England because she doesn't know what she's going to do or what she has to do. We see this in a quote. Here, Israki says, "There is no future for me in my country. I don't even know where my parents are, or if they are still alive." And also, Israki says, "When I first came here to this country, I felt so strange to be able to wear whatever I like. I could choose if I wear a hat or not, or jeans, or skirt." This shows that Israki has some problems, or had some problems, getting integrated into the Britain society, how she was going to react. And Max is the complete opposite of Israki, because he knows exactly what to do in the Britain society, but still he tries to fight it as it was working against him. And he has some huge arguments with his mother. And it says in a quote, just that morning he had a huge row with his mom. She drove him crazy. This explains Max that he has some pretty big discussions, arguments, and fights with his mom, and that is pretty important in the story because it will show a building of Max's personality throughout the story, because Israki is making such a big influence on Max. We're told that Max is kind of a slacker in school. He doesn't really do anything at all. But it changes all of a sudden because Israki open up his eyes. She opens up Max's eyes because she has some different opinions and some other traditions that brings new life into Max. And Max think it's kind of weird that Israki does all these things, and when he's having an argument with his mom, he thinks about Israki, and if Israki ever got into an argument with his mom or dad, which would probably never occur, she wouldn't probably talk to them like that, and that changes a lot in Max's and his mother's relationship. The story takes place in one day, so it's a pretty huge difference we're seeing. It's very short timed, which also makes it pretty hard as an analyzer to comprehend what's actually taking place, because when I first read this story I thought Max was the protagonist and it was all about him, but I realized second time I read this that Israki actually is the protagonist, because she's the one that changes everything. We could just hear about Max's life for a lot of pages straight, but when we're greeted with Israki, we realize that there's something more deep about the story, and that the story is about immigration and acceptance, and also the voyage from being a kid to becoming a grown-up. In the end of the story, it says in the text, when Max arrived home late, his mother took one look at his face and bit off the angry lecture she had been preparing. Instead, she folded her son in her arms and waited for the time he would talk to her. This shows that not only Max but also his mom changed, and they both are more acceptable, and they both want to do something about the situation, that it can't be true that they're both having arguments and fights all the time. And all this because of Israki and the change of Max. As a conclusion of this story, I think it is very realistic, because it could happen anywhere, especially now when there's war in the Middle East, and Israqi could be just any immigrant in a Scandinavian or European country. I also believe that it could happen in just one day, as it is described in this story, that it could be an eye-opener for a lot of people if they got the possibility, the chance of seeing or understanding how it is to come from a different society and be thrown into this. To finish it all up, I got 3 pictures. The first one is of the author, Debi Alpert from London. Then we got a picture of how I see Max, and to finish it, we got a picture of Israqi, and this is not actual photos of the people, it's just pictures from Google, but this is how I see the people of the story. This was an analysis of How Lucky You Are, written by Debi Alpert. Speaking is Anton Kongensgaard. The end.